They announced my replacement, while my inspection stamp was still warm on the Crownwater Bridge file. That was the detail that stayed with me. Not the public embarrassment, not the apprentice standing beside my desk with his new brass nameplate, not Lord Danton Vey, our new managing director, smiling like he had invented efficiency. The smell of hot ink and binding wax. I had just rejected the Eastern Support Arch for the third time. My name is Garrick Stone. I was 58 years old, Senior Quality Control Inspector at Hailwick & Sons Rune Engineering, Grade 7 Bridge Rune license, 31 years in load-bearing enchantment. Danton had been with the company for 9 weeks. Naturally, he felt prepared to explain my job to me. He stood under the humming crystal lamps, tapped a spoon against his tea glass and said, "Everyone, quick announcement. Master Stone will be transitioning out of active inspection duties. We're moving toward younger, leaner magical infrastructure." Transitioning. A lovely word for being pushed off a bridge before checking whether it had a railing. Then he placed his hand on Callan Bree's shoulder. Callan was 19, apprentice class, good hair, clean boots, the relaxed confidence of someone who had never watched a support rune fail in winter rain. Callan will assume quality oversight for the Crownwater Bridge Royal City project, Danton said. The room went silent. Quills stopped. The enchanted copying cabinet froze halfway through duplicating permit forms. I said, "Crownwater requires Grade 7 certification." Danton smiled. "The firm holds the contract." "The firm holds the contract," I said. "I hold the license." That smile tightened. This is exactly the kind of bottleneck we're removing. Bottleneck. For 31 years, I had been the person they called when junior rune mages confused pressure channels with decorative flourishes, when royal auditors wanted answers, when clients demanded shortcuts that would eventually become funerals. Now I was a bottleneck. Danton slid a rune-sealed envelope across my desk. 12 weeks severance. Your access crystal deactivates at 5th bell. Please leave your inspection tools, active ledgers, and Crownwater documentation for Callan. 12 weeks. After 31 years. My salary was 82,000 silver marks a year. Comfortable, if you ignored my mother's stone lung treatments, the cursed axe on our ancestral house, and 2 younger cousins whose apprenticeships I had quietly paid for. "You may want to delay this until after recertification," I said. Danton's eyes sharpened. That sounded almost like a threat. It was advice. I don't respond well to threats. I've noticed you don't respond well to forms either. Callan snorted. Poor boy. Hailwick & Sons had not always been foolish. When I started, old Master Hailwick shouted at everyone equally, and believed a bridge rune was not finished until 3 inspectors hated it for different reasons. He was difficult, but he understood gravity. That matters in bridge work. People see glowing arches and royal banners and think rune engineering is glamorous. It is not. It is checking, measuring, and repeating load calculations until your eyes ache. Finding hairline cracks in mana channels. Noticing when frost has made binding sigils temperamental. Knowing that a rune holding 10 wagons may still fail under one nervous dragon cart shedding fire static. That was my life. By my 20th year, royal auditors compared other people's files against mine. I was never flashy. My cultivation stalled at Copper Vein when I was 32, so young mages treated me like a cracked kettle with a guild badge. But I could read stress through stone. My father called it stone listening. The guild called it minor geomantic sensitivity. Danton called it not revenue generating. The Crownwater Bridge was the largest project Hailwick had ever won. 18 million silver marks over 3 years, 600 paces across the River Crown, 12 traffic lanes, 2 pedestrian galleries, flood spirit warding, decorative lion gargoyles that also handled drainage because royal architects like making plumbing theatrical. The contract had one nasty requirement. Every structural rune had to be certified by a Grade 7 bridge inspector with at least 25 years of continuous load-bearing experience. Not supervised by, not reviewed by, certified by. There were only 11 of us in the kingdom, and most were retired, exclusive, or unreachable. I was the only one at Halewick. We won because the Royal Works Ministry trusted my stamp. My stamp was not decorative. It was bound to my guild license, my blood signature, my inspection history, and a little silver thread of soulfire that made counterfeiting expensive, painful, and stupid. A monoseal is a signature, a password, and a lie detector wearing the same expensive robe. Mine had passed 22 royal audits. Callan's apprentice stamp had passed one lunch order. Danson did not care. He arrived after his aunt, Baroness Vey, bought a controlling stake through a noble investment house. Within a month, he renamed departments. Within 6 weeks, he replaced our ledgers with a dynamic monoflow dashboard that mostly turned red when people forgot to feed it. Within 8 weeks, he told me my inspection notes were too negative. Inspection notes are supposed to be negative. Nobody pays me to compliment Stone. I warned him twice. First, when he tried to reduce final inspection from 12 days to 3. I said 3 days is not inspection, it's sightseeing. He said, we need agility. I said, bridges prefer stability. Second, when he told Callan to shadow me and extract the process. Extract like I was a lemon. I said, you can train him for 10 years, and he still cannot certify Crownwater next month. Danton leaned back. Master Stone, the age of one man holding a company hostage is over. That sentence stayed with me. Because I had spent 31 years protecting Halewick from bad stone, bad math, bad contracts, and bad nobles. Somehow, I had become the danger. On the day they dismissed me, Danton had a brass security golem stand beside the inspection cabinets. That nearly made me laugh. The golem was called Pebble. I had signed its safety clearance 8 years earlier. Pebble turned its amber eye toward me. Master Stone, please comply with departure protocol. Hello, Pebble. Hello, Master Stone. Your emotional state appears controlled. Thank you. Danton frowned. Do not socialize with security equipment. I opened my drawer and removed my personal things. A chipped black mug from my daughter, my father's measuring cord, bitterroot tea, a healer's invoice for my mother's next treatment, 4,800 silver marks. Then I picked up my inspection stamp. Danton reached for it. I moved it away. That stays with me. It was used for company work. And bought by me, registered to me, bound to me, and maintained through guild dues your finance department kept misclassifying as optional. He looked at Callan. You see, culture problem. I placed my access crystal on the desk. Beside it, I left a thin blue folder. Danton glanced down. What's that? My final active inspection summary for Crownwater. We'll review it internally. No, you'll submit it to Royal Works by 4th bell or the preliminary approval expires. Callan will handle it. Callan straightened. Of course. I looked at him. Have you registered a Grade 7 oath imprint with the ministry? His ears reddened. Not yet, but Director Vey said the firm's master seal. The firm's master seal proves the firm exists. It does not certify bridge runes. Danton sighed. Enough, you are no longer responsible. That is correct. The room seemed to hear those words. Danton did not. He was too busy winning. He folded his arms. Before you go, provide Callan with passwords to all Crownwater ledgers. No passwords. The ledgers open by registered seal hierarchy. Then transfer hierarchy. I can't. The hierarchy belongs to Royal Works. It recognizes licensed inspectors. He stepped closer. Garrick, you are being offered a dignified exit. Do not turn this into a legal dispute you cannot afford. There it was. He knew my pressure points. My mother, the old house, the cursed axe. Human Resources had filed all of it under employee hardship accommodations, right beside my denied leave requests. For 1 second, I felt the old fear. Medicine, debt, family, practical terror. Then I remembered Clause 14.3 of the Crownwater Royal Works Agreement. I had insisted on it 7 years earlier, after another firm tried to replace a licensed inspector with a duke's nephew. The clause was simple. If the named certifying inspector was removed without documented cause within 30 days of final Rune approval, certification authority reverted to that inspector until the ministry appointed a replacement. Not the firm. The inspector. Me. Danton had signed the acknowledgement without reading it because the meeting ran into lunch. I picked up my satchel. You should contact legal before 4th bell, I said. He laughed. Goodbye, Master Stone. So I left. Past the drafting tables, past the break room where someone had burned cinnamon buns in the warming charm again, past the framed project sketches with my initials hidden in the corners. At the stairwell, Mara touched my sleeve. They can't do this, she whispered. They can, I said. They just can't make it work. Then I went home and waited for the bridge to notice I was gone. It took 2 hours. At 3:12 my crystal mirror chimed. I let it ring. At 3:14 it chimed again. At 3:16, 3 red message glyphs appeared on my kitchen wall because panic has excellent aim. I was at my mother's cottage, slicing apples thin enough for her to eat without coughing. The kettle hissed. The room smelled of mint salve and old books. Outside, a neighbor's goat was losing an argument with a laundry line. Peaceful. Very different from Halewick, where Callan had just tried to submit my inspection summary. The Royal Works ledger rejected him. No explosion, just one polite gold notice. Certifying authority not recognized. He tried the firm's master seal. Rejected. Danton tried his executive seal. Rejected. Then someone tried old Master Halewick's archived founder seal, which had been inactive since his funeral, and responded by printing a condolence notice. That was when legal finally read the contract. At 3:31, Mara sent a private mirror note. Garrick legal is pale, Danton is shouting, Callan looks ill, Royal Works wants your live confirmation by 4th bell. At 3:46, the ministry suspended Halewick's submission window. At 4:00 exactly, preliminary approval expired. The first penalty was 250,000 silver marks. Automatic. At 4:05, all non-essential Rune installation on Crownwater froze. That meant 86 workers sent home, 12 crane golems idled, 3 stone shipments delayed, and flood spirit negotiators billing double because their contract considered avoidable administrative incompetence, a hostile work condition. I respected that clause. By sunset, the problem had spread. If Crownwater paused, the Market Road expansion paused. If the road expansion paused, merchant compensation changed. If compensation changed, 3 noble houses started asking why their decorative storefront subsidies were late. Nothing motivates nobles like delayed decoration money. The next morning, I went to the Bridge Rune Inspectors Guild to confirm my license status. Clerk Ansel slid 17 message slips across the counter. Busy morning, Master Stone. Moderately. There were calls from Halewick Royal Works, Vey Holdings, Callan Bree, and Minister Albra herself. Ansel adjusted his spectacles. Your grade 7 license remains active. No disciplinary filing. No cause documentation. Halewick attempted emergency substitution at 8:10. With whom? He checked Callan Bree. Apprentice class. Level 2. We stared at each other. Ansel coughed. The reviewing officer laughed hard enough to fog the scrying basin. He handed me a sealed ministry notice. Until I voluntarily released certification authority, or another qualified inspector was appointed, Crownwater could not proceed. And because Halewick removed me without cause, they could not bill the next milestone. That milestone was 3.6 million silver marks. Danton had tried to save 82,000 a year. Elegant math. The kind they teach right before bankruptcy law. They sent Callan first. That told me nobody senior had learned anything. He arrived at my mother's cottage after noon with a fruit basket, a sealed apology scroll, and the face of a lamb sent to negotiate with a tax collector. I was repairing the back step with nails and a hammer. Sometimes wood should be allowed to remain wood. Master Stone, he said, Director Vey asked me to bring this. What does it say? I'm not entirely sure. That is a habit you should break early. His face reddened. Then he said quietly, I didn't know. He told me your license was internal. He said you were exaggerating because you didn't want to retire. That softened something in me. Callan was foolish, yes. But he was 19. At 19, I once believed an architect who told me support runes could be mostly aligned. 3 wagons and a lawsuit taught me otherwise. Did you certify anything? I asked. No, the ledger wouldn't let me. Good. I tried to tell him after. He said I was panicking. You were panicking. Yes, but accurately. That almost made me smile. He held out the basket. If you come back today, they'll restore your position temporarily and increase your pay 15%. Temporarily. He looked miserable. Yes. Callan, do you want advice? He nodded. Never accept responsibility without authority. Never sign what you have not read. Never let a man who calls paperwork beneath him stand behind you while you hold the pen. His eyes dropped. Are you coming back? No. He bowed. Properly. I'm sorry, Master Stone. I believe you. He left the fruit basket anyway. Danton came at 5:30. No fruit basket. He arrived with 2 legal scribes and the expression of a man who had practiced humility and hated every second. I met him on the porch. He glanced at the peeling paint, patched roof charm, and herb garden. I watched him calculate how desperate I should be. That was his second mistake. The first was thinking I was replaceable. The second was thinking poverty and weakness were the same thing. Garrick, he said warmly. No. His smile twitched. No. You don't call me Garrick, not today. A legal scribe stared hard at his shoes. Danton inhaled. Master Stone, the board recognizes procedural miscommunication. There was no miscommunication. We'd like to resolve this constructively. I already resolved my part. I left. The scribe unrolled a document. Halewick offers immediate reinstatement, a 22% raise, and a 15,000 silver mark loyalty payment. I laughed once. Not loudly. That made Danton flinch. Loyalty payment, I said. You fired me yesterday. Business decisions can be revisited. So can consulting rates. I pulled a folded sheet from my vest pocket. My daughter, who writes shipyard contracts, had helped me draft it by crystal call. My emergency consulting fee is 18,000 silver marks per day, paid in advance. Minimum 10 days. Written apology filed with the guild, full correction of my personnel record, 5 years of medical coverage for my mother. Callan removed from certifying authority without penalty, and you recuse yourself from bridge compliance decisions. Danton stared. This is extortion. No, extortion is illegal. This is a rate sheet. You are risking the Crownwater contract, Danton snapped. No, you risked it. I'm standing where you left me. His charm cracked. The delay penalties could exceed 2 million, he said. People could lose their jobs. That hit Mara, the draftsmen, the field crews, the tired clerks who had done nothing except work under idiots with better titles. I looked at the scribes. Then the board should move quickly. Danton's voice dropped. You bitter old man. There he was. The real meeting. I'm not bitter, I said. I'm tired, there's a difference. He had no answer. People like Danton always leave when a room stops obeying them. The board accepted the next morning. Not because they discovered respect. Respect would have been cheaper. They accepted because Minister Albra warned that Halewick would be removed from Crownwater unless a valid certification plan was submitted by noon. My apology arrived at 9:15, signed by all 5 board members and witnessed by the guild. My personnel record was corrected by 9:40. My mother's medical coverage was confirmed by 10:05. At 10:12, 180,000 silver marks hit my Spirit Bank account. I stared at the number longer than I care to admit. Then I paid off the cursed tax on the house. 36 years of family debt gone in one transfer. My mother cried and blamed the mint steam. At noon, I returned to Halewick as an independent emergency consultant. That distinction mattered. My old desk had been cleared. My nameplate was gone. Someone had put a decorative fern where my ledgers used to sit. The fern looked healthier than most management decisions in that building. Pebble saluted. Welcome, external vendor Stone. Thank you, Pebble. Your emotional state appears improved. Getting there. Danton was not in the inspection room. Callan was. He had 3 sharpened quills, 2 fresh ledgers, and no arrogance at all. Good, a teachable condition. For 10 days, I worked exactly to contract. No unpaid overtime, no skipped meals, no mirror calls after 7th bell, every instruction written, every risk logged, every correction signed. It is amazing how respectful executives become when your invoice has daily teeth. We found 11 issues in the Crownwater final runes. 8 minor, 2 serious, 1 catastrophic. The catastrophic one was in the eastern support arch, the same section I had rejected before being transitioned. A decorative royal crest had been carved too close to a pressure channel. Beautiful work, idiotic placement. Under festival traffic, it would have created resonance feedback through the 3rd load band. In plain speech, the bridge would have hummed, cracked, and become famous for the wrong reason. Callan found the discrepancy first. He traced the line, checked twice, and went still. Master Stone, he said carefully, the crest is interfering with the load channel. Good. Good. You saw it before I told you. That was when he became useful. Because he understood the stone did not care whether he wanted to be brilliant. We corrected the arch, filed the variants, submitted certification, and passed ministry inspection with 2 conditional notes and 1 compliment from Minister Albra. Crownwater continued. Halewick kept the contract. Mostly. Royal Works reduced their next milestone payment by 12% and placed them under enhanced compliance review for 18 months. Vey Holdings lost its performance bonus. The board removed Danton as managing director and reassigned him to strategic noble relations, which I believe means lunches where he can damage fewer bridges. Callan stayed as an apprentice, under Mara's unofficial supervision, which is worse than any punishment I could invent. As for me, I did not return. The board offered my old position back with a private office and 120,000 silver marks a year. A month earlier, I would have accepted so fast I might have sprained something. But after 10 days of being paid on time, respected in writing, and allowed to eat lunch while it was warm, I had discovered a dangerous taste for dignity. So I opened Stonebridge Certification Services above the cursed umbrella shop. My first client was the Royal Works Ministry. My second was a rival firm that said they valued experienced compliance leadership, which is corporate language for we heard what happened and brought money. By autumn, Crownwater opened. I stood in the crowd with my mother on one side and Callan on the other. The bridge was beautiful. White stone, blue Rune lines, lion gargoyles pouring clean river water like they had never caused me paperwork. Wagons crossed. Children ran along the gallery. No humming. No cracking. Just a bridge doing what a bridge is supposed to do. Hold. Callan asked, do you miss Halewick? I thought about the cold tea, the missed dinners, and the way they called caution negativity, until it became expensive enough to call expertise. No, I said, I miss who I thought they were. A week later, Danton asked whether I would certify a smaller project for Vay Holdings. I sent my rate sheet. Triple. He did not reply. For 31 years, I believed my job was keeping things from falling. Bridges, contracts, companies, people who never noticed my hands under the weight. Then one arrogant man called me a bottleneck and cut me loose. And for the first time in decades, I learned the difference between protecting a structure and being trapped under it. They thought they were replacing an old inspector with cheaper magic. What they actually removed was the only signature the bridge trusted.